This is the Washington Times front page for Monday, March 20th, 2023. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Fears that another interest rate hike will hasten more bank failures loom over the Federal Reserve's meeting this week. The fear, Dave Boyer reports, is that another rate hike from the Federal Reserve to tamp down inflation will sap the value of banks' assets such as government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. That would make them more vulnerable to a run by depositors. There's still consternation going on in the system as banking giant UBS is buying troubled rival Credit Suisse for almost $3.25 billion. The deal was orchestrated by regulators in an effort to further avoid turmoil in the global banking system. Prominent drug makers want to more than quadruple the prices of their COVID-19 vaccines when the shots transition to the commercial market later this year. Tom Howell and Harris Alec report Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders will demand answers from Moderna CEO Stefan Bancel over the proposed hike at a highly anticipated hearing this week. The Democratic chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions will underscore tensions between pharmaceutical companies and lawmakers outraged about ballooning drug prices. Moderna benefited from collaboration with the federal government to bring the COVID-19 vaccine to market, but is now planning to charge $110 to $130 per dose once federally purchased stockpiles are exhausted. Moderna charged the government $15 to $26 per dose earlier in the pandemic. Much of the small city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine lies in ruins after months of trench warfare. Mike Glenn reports Russian invaders have surrounded the city on three sides, and Western officials have urged Ukrainian defenders to fall back to more easily defendable lines. Ukraine, however, has no plans to pull out of Bakhmut. Ukrainian officials say it's not just a matter of what the loss would mean for the public's morale, but the city's defense, they say, is linked to a planned spring offensive that could begin within weeks. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. An aide to Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan told our Susan Ferricchio that House Republicans' Select Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government is expected to respond to plans to indict Donald Trump. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said the House will examine the use of federal funds in Prosecutor Alvin Bragg's office and to expect an announcement from the Weaponization panel about the investigation on Monday. Trump is facing an indictment on felony charges relating to hush money he allegedly paid to adult performer Stormy Daniels 7 years ago. Trump has said he expects to be arrested as soon as Tuesday. And finally, NewsGuard is one of a web of private companies purporting to police the news business and delivering verdicts on what publications can be trusted and which cannot. It bills its work as apolitical, but Joseph Clark reports critics say it consistently finds fault with reporting by news outlets seen as conservative. NewsGuard took $749,000 from the Defense Department in 2021, and a $25,000 grant offered jointly by the State Department and the Defense Department in 2020 for its work. Co-founder Gordon Kravitz said that doesn't mean the company should be labeled as government-funded. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.